Hey, it's Geoff Boucher. You're watching Hero Complex, the show. One of the things that we do out here in crazy Los Angeles is the Hero Complex Film Festival. We're very excited about it every year. We just did the third one. We had some special guests, and today, on the special edition of Hero Complex, the show, we're going to show you one of the Q&As. It's Peter Weller. He's out of his mind. He's crazy. And it's the 25th anniversary of RoboCop, and we actually end up talking about that just a little. Check this out.
RoboCop is a classic, so I sort of stay away from it. But I haven't seen it in 15 years or so, and just saw it in Dallas with the crew and with my 8-month-old son. And some guy took a picture of the back of my head son watching RoboCop, and he watched the whole thing, man. He was just like, mesmerized. I'm sure he understood every frame of it, but. But in any case, it's some aesthetic distance that I have from the film, and I'd forgotten because I'm a PhD candidate in Italian Renaissance art history, and subsequently what I've spent as a hobby in the last 20 years is studying art history and subsequently the social history, intellectual history of Western Europe at a particular time when we became modern. That's around the late 1300s, early 1400s, and the social history in RoboCop. I'd forgotten how profound these writers are. They're not only funny with those extraordinarily acerbic social obsessions like board games, called Nukem. This is 1986. The parameters of friendly aggression even then. But the movie starts off with a last bastion holdout of apartheid against black South Africa. Anybody grab onto that? That's the first thing. That's the first damn thing you see in RoboCop, right? Is essentially white suppression about to go down a toilet. And the film is laced with that stuff. Not to mention the themes of redemption and resurrection and on and on and on and on. The images go, man. And so when I was watching it 3 weeks ago in Dallas, I had the first time I had to say that I got past the hoopla of the film and was genuinely proud to be part of it, to really be proud of it, really proud to be part of this film, and could see how anthropological it is. I think you could watch it in 100 years and it would resonate because of its story.
When you were making this movie, since you just had the experience in Dallas with a lot of the faces that you grew to know on this project, what were the things that you were thinking about as you looked back? What was the experience like making the film?
It was absolutely, judiciously, the most disciplined experience I've ever had doing anything. Because Moni Yakin, the head of the movement department at Juilliard, who I chose to design that movement, was working with me every day for about 6 months. And even when I'd go away, I'd have his tapes, a Walkman in my ear doing his sort of things. And I was also training for the New York Marathon. I just run the LA Marathon, so I was a marathon runner. And the New York Marathon was going to be right at the end of the shoot. So doing the discipline, and doing the voice lessons, and as much as there was a little bit of resonant post-production on it, that was essentially my voice. And then there's a voice modulation at the end. When I take off the helmet, which I did on purpose, and I never talked about it with Verhoeven, because there's an old adage in the method: don't talk about things with the director. Don't reveal your secrets to the director. Just let the director either point you in the right direction or not, or tell you if you're wrong. Anybody's acting out there, don't go have conversations about the thing with the director unless you don't understand it. The director's got a whole series of paradigms he's got to pay attention to. And if he's a great director, he'll point you in the right direction, he'll adjust you, but all your blooming homework, keep to yourself. So I said, at the end of this, I'm going to take off this helmet, and I'm going to soften the. Anybody notice that the voice softens when the helmet comes off? Thank you and all that stuff is more like, yeah. I never told Verhoeven that, and never had a discussion again. I think I've talked about it twice. But the bad thing is to see it dubbed into Italian or Polish or or French or whatever, because they come on with the right voice. They have this grazie per cooperazione. And then the helmet comes off, and they go, "Grazie." I get, and I said, "Oh, they missed that one. Somebody should have told them."
Take it down a notch, right?
Yeah, so it was absolutely disciplined. I was getting up sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning. Also, it's that that prosthetic face, and the guy who designed the face and the inner suit and the outer suit, Rob Botinu, who is a genius and who should, he's probably living on his mountain there in Azusa. I think he owns the entire town at this point. And Stefan Dupuis, gifted guy who applicated. That was 6.5 hours, ladies and gentlemen, for that third act face, because the seams are on camera. That's my face built into a prosthetic that is not CGI'd. That's real deal. And it took 6.5 hours to put that face on. That was 27 days, not in a row. 27 days of work. Another hour and a half to put on the suit. And this was like a real Formula One team. Bart Mixon, one of the great applicators of special effects, was just working with me on Star Trek, and I just introduced him to J.J. Abrams, and he's still one of the, he had that thing down to a Formula One, like, second arm would break, the arm would come on, we were like just a high-end special effects mechanics pit. And, but we had worked an 8-hour day by the time the crew came. We were going out to work when the crew was coming in from drinking. Like at 1 a.m. or something like that. I was going to get in the van with the makeup guys, and that was absolutely. I don't know. I even know if I'd want to do that now. Yeah. I just don't know if I'd want to do that. And by the way, hour and 50 minutes to take off that face, because it's got to be like barely with like alcohol, just barely pulled out, and even then you couldn't shoot it again on me because my face looked like a giant zit. For about 72 hours. So it was extraordinary discipline. But anyway, being a movie.
Absolutely. When you were going into the Murphy role, was there something that you knew that you would have to avoid? I mean, obviously you talked about the voice, but as far as the performance, either at the beginning of the movie or just in sort of the physicality of it?
Well, there was one thing I had to avoid, because on the page it's such a moving and funny script that I had to avoid playing into the sentimentality of it, because it's very sentimental. And I mean, it's extraordinarily sentimental. I mean, the two great moments in RoboCop, other than Ed screwing up the beginning, which is hysterical, is old Robo going home, and then Robo taking off the helmet and saying, I could feel them, but I can't remember them. It's a beautifully written line that I could feel them. I can't remember them. He has no image of them, but he has a sense of humanity. Very touching stuff. So I didn't want to fall into the crybaby thing, which is the big mistake of acting anyway. Most you got to allow an audience to have that moment and not steal it from them yourself.
They're making another RoboCop film. I know.
I could give a
that? Me neither.
They've been trying to make another RoboCop, man. I don't know, Craig. How about for 30 years? They're going to make another RoboCop. I said, God bless him, man. Go make another RoboCop. I got to tell you this. When I sat there in Dallas 3 weeks ago and watched this thing, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, can they throw a lot of CGI at it and so forth? The morality that's endemic to the movie that you just watched it's hard to replicate.
Yeah, absolutely. And the ethics.
Yeah.
It's an ethical tsunami.
I mean, it makes you laugh and cry and moves you and hysterical and horrible and all those unbelievable things at once. Yeah. Well, good luck to them. They'll never do it, but good luck.
I know you've directed in television before as well, like a Homicide.
Yeah, I've directed a lot of homicides, Las Vegas, Monk, Sons of Anarchy is my go-to show. I don't know if you ever Sons of Anarchy.
I'm wondering, has that changed your acting at all, the process of directing?
Yes, it makes you a better actor. A lot of actors don't go for directing. I'm fairly, a lot of things I don't do well. I don't do warm and fuzzy well. But, motorcycles and guns and horses and car wrecks and bar fights and hookers, so that's my thing. So, don't do warm and fuzzy well, but I do like people moving. I come from the method. I come from Uta Hagen, one of the great acting teachers ever, but I come from the legit method. And Elia Kazan. Anybody know who Elia Kazan? I pray to God you know who Elia Kazan is. inducted me to the Actors Studio, and both those people, and Harold Klorman and some other greats of seminal naturalistic theater and film, taught me or drilled me, and you can see this sometimes where you wonder why a movie doesn't work for you, if it's a dramatic movie, especially forget the special effects. And yes, what I learned was to figure out, particularly as a director, what a character or two characters are doing physically in a room if that dialogue wasn't happening. And the interesting thing about what the method, and what the real method did, what the great method did back in the 40s and 50s, called, what you hear a mediocre director, or what I call a mediocre director, or a mediocre actor call props or business, is actually, in my life, called physical life. And there's a physical life to a scene, there's an emotional life to a scene, and there's an intentional life to the scene. It's like how you're feeling, what the stakes are, and then what you want. There's also physical life in the scene. What would you be doing in that room if that person didn't walk in and point a gun at you? Or what would you be doing in that room? What are you doing in that room while that person is saying, I don't love you anymore and I got to go off with John? And to figure that out, you find out. Now let me give you a case in point. Here's a really good thing, and this is really great. I just directed one of the last episodes of House. I directed a whole lot of Sons of Anarchy. I just finished this Longmire. It's the first season with a wonderful producer named Greer Shepard. In the 50s, and 40s and 50s, when you saw somebody driving, they put the thing on a stage. They have a rear screen projection. They put a camera out the back of a window. They shoot that rear screen projection and shoot the whole thing again. Stop motion animation isn't much different. They had little models and put it against the projection of what they shot, and then they shoot the whole thing again, and that was stop motion animation. Now it's CGI. Okay. In the 60s, around like Bonnie and Clyde and all that, Bus Stop actually kicks it off. They start putting camera mounts on a car. They put what they call a hostess tray here, or a front mount. And now they really have the guy driving. And if you see Bonnie and Clyde, you'll see that Warren Beatty's really driving. And look how fast those scenes go. Because when you really have to drive the car and say those words, when you really have to do something physical, now you might have to practice it. I might have to practice going over and getting this thing, and then giving it to you, and then hitting the popcorn. But once it starts going, the scene has an immediacy and an urgency to it that just beats any idea of standing around saying 2 pages of words in a close-up that is so dreary and so boring and so subliminally horrifying, and the bad result of what television has forced down the craw of so many talented people now. No, I want the same size. In the old days, they weren't the same size lens. You didn't match lenses. Somebody always lost or won a scene, so you had to be closer on me when I found out that my card got blown up than him when he told me. Now it's all drivel. It's spoon-fed crap. And now, in the 1990s, they got this dumbass idea, which anybody who's produced a movie will go, no, not the process trailer. Yeah, the process trailer, where you got to put a car on a trailer where all the cars going by, all you can see is the hood of them, right? Right? That's one thing. And second of all, the steering wheel never moves. And third of all, the urgency of the scene, even if you had Marlon Brando, has got the, even if it's like the next nuke is coming in 3 minutes, and sitting in a process trailer pretending while some DP just killed your day by setting up 5 hours worth of lights that he doesn't need. By the time the actor gets in there to act, it's like we've both been shot full of 3 cc's of Thorazine, man. Yeah, Joe. And then we all get, and he's a great guy, the Denzel Washington Award for never driving the car. Which I say, which he won the Oscar for, and when he's not in the car, he's fantastic. But every time he's in that car, man, he's looking at Ethan Hawke for 90 seconds without looking at the road. Yeah, brother. I don't want to say something else, brother. The steering wheel never moves. And it's one long close-up. Is that stupid? Is anybody with me on this? Even my wife, who does not
care about this. She's not an actress. Saw that movie Training Day and said, that was 25 seconds of a close-up looking at Ethan Hawke. He must have killed 15 dogs and 4 ladies. And the scenes were so slow. When he got out of that car, man, you notice how like he popped? You know, when he's pushing everybody in that crack house. The second you get back in there, man, let me tell you, brother. Okay, my point is that this. I get to this thing, a house, great Gail Tattersall. I said, no process trailers. He goes, oh, no, man, then we can't light. I said, it's a Corvette. We're going to do a Russian arm, which is this thing goes around it. We're gonna do camera mounts. Okay, it's a good episode of House, because House is a good series anyway. It was really well written. But those driving scenes are the best driving scenes I've seen between 2 actors in television, man, in 20 years. Because they actually had to drive a 450 horsepower Corvette and go Yahoo and shift gears. And they go like this. And I just shot this thing in Longmire. I said, no process trailers, man, camera mounts, and I have to act in it. And those scenes, when you have a physical life, that's the God-blessed gift to great acting and directing. You look at William Wyler movies or Kazan movies or Scorsese's best movies like Taxi Driver and so forth, or even Coppola's Buzzing, Mike Nichols. The physical life, what people are doing in the room. Look at Hannah and the Sisters. Look at Woody Allen's Hannah and the Sisters, man. That movie is just a gas with like physical stuff. You know, here's the classic thing that Kazan always said. Notice how much more you are committed to washing the dishes on a parallel with how pissed off you are to the person talking to you. You bury yourself in it. Bigger the stakes, heavier the physical life.
Well, ladies and
Thank you for letting me rant, man.